All right, let's get started. Back to the live streams, back to live streams. If you're in here, let me know if you can see me, hear me, all that good stuff. We should be good to go. That's why I did the test live stream, obviously. And I have this set up so I can now look at the main camera and read chat at the same time. Aren't we making progress? We are making so much progress nowadays. A little bit of a last minute live stream I decided to do here, but if you know me, that's just how I roll sometimes. So once I get confirmation that everyone can see me and hear me, oh no, what I just do? I will get started. We're actually gonna do a little bit of a screen share because once again, we are more advanced now. Mm. But first, on that note, actually, um, oh, you know what? Hopefully, let me check something real quick. Okay. But first, actually, what we're gonna do is, oh, I need the screen back though, is lately I've been on like a vintage perfume kick. So some of these are actually like older than I am. Like this Boss number one, it doesn't say number one on it, and it's actually a splash. Amazing stuff. But it's from like the early 90s or the late 80s. Super old stuff. Same with this one and this Ted Lapidus Pour Home. This is some other good stuff that I've been feeling. Like just a fucking, well, probably can't say that, but just a masculine, juicy powerhouse. Okay. So, with all that said, let's go ahead and get into the topic of the video. Hopefully this works. Boom. Yeah. We're cooking with gasoline, baby. All right. So, this is the American Expats Survey. You can see the URL up here. February 2025. And I just wanted to go through some of this with you guys because there's some interesting takeaways on um, this survey. And what are my thoughts on Costa Rica? There are lots of expats there. I've only been there on vacation. I've never actually like lived there. So I couldn't tell you. So the top highlights from the survey, and then obviously we'll get into the 10 places people want to go, and I gotta say some of them are not ideal. The land of the not so financially free, over half of Americans, 55%, are striving to achieve retirement and financial security, with just a fifth of Americans self-reporting securing this goal. 21%. So that is one of the reasons I constantly talk to you guys about not just moving overseas, but moving overseas and being able to put more money into investments and retirements and so on and so forth, because that is how most people can achieve true financial freedom without needing to make, gobs and gobs of money every month. And you can also increase your quality of life. So it's really, really powerful. This is also why I possibly put in the title the American dream is dying because most people, as we'll see in this next part right here, can't even afford a home. So, most people can't get financial security, most people can't retire, and most people can't own a home. So, what is the American dream really? So, home sweet unattainable home. Sweet home Alabama. Anyway, less than half of Americans in 2024 have achieved home ownership, 49%, with even fewer currently working towards this goal, 32%. Skepticism towards making home ownership a reality is high, with 68% believing that owning a home is no longer attainable for the majority of citizens. Once again, we're just going to go through some of these highlights and then we will get deeper into this document, which it goes back to my previous point. Where is the American dream? Living the dream or dreaming of leaving. While just over half of Americans believe they can live a higher quality of life abroad, 52%, better quality of life is a leading reason for Americans who want to stay or move out of the country. We're also going to get into another aspect of quality of life because so many people in this area of our YouTube, I guess, are constantly talking about, or they're saying, oh, weather doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. But you'll see it's one of the most important factors of why people have left the United States. But anyway, I would say more than half Americans, assuming they could earn an income in US dollars, could live a significantly higher quality of life abroad. And yes, like they said, it is the leading reason most people want to move. Now, here is one thing that is very, very accurate about the United States. It does have some of the best wealth creation opportunities, aka work opportunities, because there's so many jobs and so many high paying jobs. But that there's an opportunity cost there, if you will, because everything else kind of reflects that in the cost of living, whether it's taxes you see or don't see, or just generally keeping up with the Joneses. In fact, recently I was looking at a financial um, status kind of report of a couple that was making like 300 grand. And from that 300 grand, they were only putting like $1,000 a month into savings. I would have to check this stat to see if it's still true. But most Americans, if they had an emergency where they needed 1,000 or $2,000, they wouldn't be able to come up with that money, which is absolutely insane given the great work opportunities and the high incomes. But anyway, 70% of Americans believe the US is the most lucrative country for work. However, 68%, sorry, feel that they are surviving more than thriving. For those who have considered moving abroad, 49% cite lower costs as the primary reason for making the jump, and 86% express seeking a more affordable cost of living as the most important factor. Now, I'm not sure if they are including taxes in here because I haven't actually read through this entire document, but taxes could be another factor there as well. Ah, just coffee, by the way. Oh, Canada. Americans name Canada as the most desirable country to move to, which is absolutely insane. Do not move to Canada. But to each their own, I suppose, followed by other English speaking countries such as the United Kingdom and Australia, which don't know why you would want to move to the UK particularly. I love London, think it's a great city, but it has its own issues. The more passports, the merrier. What have I been telling you guys for nearly 2 years now? You must get second citizenships and you must get more passports. Roughly half of Americans, 49%, express interest in obtaining or already possess dual citizenship. Among those looking for a second passport, freedom of travel, access to benefits, and exposure to another country's culture are primary motivating factors. Now, I'm not sure why you would need a citizenship to get access to another country's culture. Once again, residency costs a lot less than getting citizenship, and you can get residency a lot faster. And if you live in a country, obviously you are going to get access to that culture. Now, I would say freedom of travel is important. In fact, there could possibly be times in the future where the United States passport doesn't have visa free travel to certain countries that other countries do have access to. Or, for example, if you want to stay more time in Europe or something like that. And then obviously, one thing that's not mentioned here is the United States is one of two or three passports where they will tax you on your worldwide income, whether you stay in the United States for 0 days per year or not. Absolutely insane, which, to each their own on that. Expat hacks wanted. Now, this is interesting for people who are interested in starting some sort of business that cater towards expats and people interested in the expat lifestyle. Whether it's connecting to trusted international realtors searching for accessible healthcare options or managing visa citizenship applications, 77% Americans are eager for services that could make moving abroad a smooth and convenient process with 60% even expressing willingness to pay. Talk about product market fit. So, if you are interested in doing any of that stuff, I would highly suggest, or if you're interested in starting a business, that might be something interesting to you, where you can sell to Americans but live in a foreign country. Now, let's just go scroll through this. We aren't going to dive too deep into this stuff because you guys can go through this on your own time, so on and so forth. But there was something, I think it's page 15. Okay. Americans name Canada as the most desirable country to move to, followed by the UK, Australia, France, and Italy. Very, very interesting. So let's start with number 10, which is New Zealand. I've never been to New Zealand. I have no desire to go to New Zealand. The only thing I really know about New Zealand is that the UFC fighter, Israel Adesanya, is from there, or something like that. And yeah, I also know it from Lord of the Rings because I'm a bit nerdy, if you can't tell from a giant samurai picture behind me. Number 9, Germany. I personally would not live in Germany. And actually, there is something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, it's down here. So let's not skip ahead. I went to Germany. I've been to Germany. I have German friends. Germany is not a place that I would particularly like to spend my time. Doesn't check a lot of boxes, but there is a high level of English there. The weather isn't super great. It is a economic powerhouse for the moment, although the direction of the country could be debated. That moves to Spain. Spain would probably be in my top three, to be very transparent. Spain is one of my favorite places on the entire planet. There's just so much to do in Spain. Spain is the second most visited country in the entire world, beating out even the United States. It's only behind France, I believe. And there are reasons for that. Spain, tons of stuff to see, tons of stuff to do, great food, great weather, Mediterranean beaches. Can't get much better than Spain, although the Spanish tax system is not ideal. Some of you may want to look into the non lucrative visa, I believe it is. Got to put like 30 grand in a bank there and do some other stuff. But Spain, I absolutely love it. Great value for your money. I have never had safety issues, anything like that. Spain, can't say anything but great things. And there is obviously a growing expat community in Spain for a number of reasons. Although in Barcelona, as they say, there are the anti expat kind of sentiment going on there, although it doesn't seem to affect tourism numbers all that much. Next up, lovely Mexico. I just met a British guy the other day who was coming from somewhere in England to Mexico. I actually met him in Guadalajara. He went to Oaxaca and he went to, where was it? Mexico City and somewhere else. Absolutely loves it. Feels perfectly safe. Thinks Mexicans are the friendliest people in the entire world, which should say something. I'm always talking about how friendly the Mexican people are, how warm they are, how open they are to foreigners. Absolutely love Mexico. Once again, it is close proximity to the United States, obviously, so you can maintain connections with your family. Great time zone and great food, great weather, and all of that good stuff, and obviously great value for your money. Japan is interesting. I think that's probably the most culture shock of all of this, and frankly, it's the only Asian country on here, and that kinda surprises me because I would figure more people would wanna move to, like, Vietnam or Thailand because they're lower cost of living and probably a little bit more friendly to, English because Japan is not super you're just gonna have a bit more culture shock in Japan. Now that said, you could probably go to, like, Okinawa or Osaka or something like that. Um, Kinda depends what you're looking for because Tokyo is not gonna be the most affordable. Obviously, great food there. But yeah, that kinda shocked me. Italy, this is another great one. It's up there with Mexico and Spain, in my opinion. I absolutely love it. Italy. Italian food is great, good weather, obviously on the Mediterranean coast. A lot of the same things to be said about Spain. France is interesting. It is the most touristed country in the world, and I would also say maybe, mm, I actually don't know the, like, visa options for living in France, so that would be interesting. Also, not super tax friendly from what I know. I did like the, like, countryside in France a bit more than I liked Paris, although I did like Paris. Like, I think Paris gets an unfair rap from a lot of people for various reasons. The French people weren't rude to me. I didn't speak French, and I spoke English, and nothing but good. Frankly, the most rude were the people in number 2 in the UK. But yeah, France, interesting, a bit crowded. I wouldn't recommend going there during summertime if you're going to like Paris. But yeah, France is an interesting option, although I personally wouldn't go there. Australia, kind of the same thing as New Zealand. Never been to Australia, have no desire to go to Australia. The only time I wanted to go, I think, was in 20 something when the World Cup was being held there. And yeah, absolutely no desire to go to Australia. My dad was looking into moving to New Zealand and Australia at one point, but apparently they also don't have the best tax system. And yeah, although I will say from what I've seen, both of them have a bit of beauty and like to the country, especially New Zealand. Yeah. Number 2, United Kingdom. I love London. Wouldn't live there though. Weather's horrible, it's expensive. Obviously, you can go outside of London to, like, Manchester or what is it, Birmingham or Liverpool or some of these other places, but frankly, um, just not a place that would interest me, and then Canada is pretty much the United States. So, I mean, obviously, they're different, but not a lot of interest there. Absolutely shocks me when Americans, for example, during the election go, "I'm gonna move to Canada." And it's, first of all, pretty difficult to just move to Canada. And frankly, if you wanna be in a place in the Americas, Mexico blows Canada away. Anyway, if I had to put my top 5, I would probably go with something like Mexico, Spain, Italy, um, from this list at least. Mexico, Spain, Italy. I would probably throw in Portugal and like Thailand as well. I think those are better alternatives to the places listed here. And part of that is based on what people are looking for, based on the region. So, as I alluded to earlier, most people are moving abroad because of cost efficiency and cost of living. You can see Everyone marked this as the most important thing that they are looking for when they decide to move abroad. So they want better value for their money. Then in second place, you have a wide variety of things. You have affordable real estate, you have interest in the language slash culture coming in Western Europe, and then Oceania region has preferred climate and or weather. But here's the thing. Preferred climate weather also checks in at number 3 in North America, and I think number 5, if I'm doing that right, in Western Europe. So it's in the top 5 for all these places as to why people move abroad. So when people, especially the people in Poland, comment on my videos and say, no one cares that much about weather, blah, 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 it is a very important thing. And that's why I don't think Central slash Eastern Europe is ever going to be that popular unless you're doing something similar to what I do, where you have multiple homes where you can go to these places during these times of the year where it's best. So that's why I've been spending most of my time in Europe during summer because that's when it has the best weather and that's when I can actually enjoy it. I don't really want to be there any other time of the year because it's just not worth it, in my opinion, because of these weather things. I also know that there are content creators who say, oh, it's not that big a deal but about the weather, and then they'll create a video saying, "Oh, yeah, I was stuck inside for 3 months and I was a bit depressed and lonely, blah, 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 because you can't do anything during winter." Well, yeah, but you're also making content saying, "Oh, the weather's not that big of a deal." So pick one, right? Anyway, um, and then you'll see the interest in language and culture actually ranks pretty high in most of these places except for North America, although it's still in the top 6, I believe, there. So, um, I guess those are some interesting things to note, as you'll see on what over here. Let's switch the camera. I don't remember what the name of the camera I need is. Cost, value, safety, taxes. So cost and value and taxes pretty much all go together. And then I don't know if safety was even really um, a factor for many people here. Strong public safety security. Okay. In Western Europe, I mean, interesting. So, yeah, that's just something you guys can go through on your own time if you would like more details on that. And then with all that said, I guess that wraps up the presentation. If there's anyone in here, if you want to have any conversations, ask any questions, go for it. I have to go here shortly. Just thought I would do a brief live stream also. Ooh, I don't know if I can do that from here, so we aren't gonna try it. Any comments or questions? If not, we're gonna wrap this baby up. Nope. Okay. Well, enjoy your Saturday. I will certainly enjoy mine. Okay. Well, Portugal, Mexico, and Thailand. More specifically, Bangkok, Lisbon, and Guadalajara is where I spend my time. And I have homes in each of these places. although I don't own them, except for in Lisbon. And I think in my last live stream, I told you guys we just bought some land here in Mexico and we're going to build a house. So if I told you that, good. If not, surprise. And you, Lux Travel, where are you based? Ooh, Athens. That's a good spot. I love Greece. Ah, I should have mentioned Greece and Albania in the list. I was in I mean I spent time in Athens obviously, but I really like Thessalonica, whatever you call it. That was a cool spot. And then there was what is it? Like the main Greek island? Crete? No. I'd have to look at the map. Absolutely love Greece. Also, on that topic, the English guy I was talking to, he said his most underrated destination that he's been to in Europe was Slovenia, which the boy is Slovenian, only partially, like 20% or something. But there's a shout for some of you guys. All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining. If you watch this on the replay or in real time, doesn't matter. I appreciate it. Probably going to do another live stream tomorrow, and maybe I will set that up later today just to give it people a little bit more time to be aware that there is going to be a live stream. All right. Enjoy your guys' Saturday and all that stuff. Peace.